Do you think you've seen speed? Well, the Chevelle's here to redefine it. Because legends say this car was built with parts forged in fire. This legend of the streets has been transformed into something truly extraordinary. Built for one purpose: absolute speed. But how fast is it? What about safety? Most importantly, is it reliable and worth that price tag? Buckle up, gearheads, because today we'll be talking about the world's fastest Chevelle. For today's video, we'll focus on one specific model that has captured the hearts of car enthusiasts everywhere: the 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454. Undoubtedly the fastest Chevelle ever to make it to the roads. Now, there are a lot of different opinions out there on which muscle car is the best, but I've always had a soft spot for the Chevelle. It just has a classic look and feel that you don't find in a lot of other cars. I mean, just look at this beauty. This for sure isn't your average classic Chevelle. This is a beast built purely for speed. The Chevelle was a total head-turner, bold, iconic muscle car that screams power and style. With its long hood, short deck, and aggressive stance, it commands attention. The split-bar grille, quad headlights, and sculpted cowl induction hood bring both flair and function. Whether you choose the sleek coupe, convertible, or practical sedan, there's a version for everyone. But that's not it. With a massive 454 cubic inch V8 engine, this wild engine was mated to a heavy-duty transmission. And let's be honest, it's still one of the most hyped muscle cars, with collectors going wild for it. Now, moving on, what do you think is so great about the Chevelle? The Chevelle's mainly so special because it ticks all the boxes that a great classic muscle car should. Big power, killer looks, and serious performance. When you're talking about the 454 LS6 V8. But it's not just the engine that makes it unforgettable. The cowl induction hood actually plays a crucial role in the performance of the car, as it actually funneled cool air directly into the engine to boost performance. This enhances performance so much that this beast could tear through the quarter mile in the low 13-second range, which is crazy for its time. Okay, so everyone goes nuts over the 70 Chevelle, right? LS6 this, LS6 that. But here's the dirty little secret nobody talks about. It wasn't just the LS6. I mean, sure, that was the king, the top dog. Most people didn't have an LS6. Chevy was sneaky, see? They offered everything from a mean inline 6, seriously, a 6 in a Chevelle, to a bunch of regular, everyday small blocks. Then they threw in some other big blocks, not the crazy LS6, but still enough to get you in trouble. So while everyone drooling over the mythical LS6 Chevelle, the truth is, most of them were just regular cars. Makes you think, right? Was the 70 Chevelle really all that special, or was it just a big marketing trick? The 1970 Chevelle's an absolute muscle car icon, but like any classic, it's got a few quirks. First off, that powerful V8 engine's awesome, but it really drinks the gas and doesn't expect great fuel economy. The ride's a bit rough, but that's part of the fun. As for safety, it's a bit outdated, with no airbags or anti-lock brakes, just pure muscle. Rust can be a problem too, especially in the undercarriage and wheel wells. You'll want to stay on top of that. If you're thinking about restoring one, parts can get pricey, but it's totally worth it for that legendary look and feel. The handling isn't as sharp as today's cars, but again, that's just part of the classic appeal. If you're up for putting in some work, the 1970 Chevelle gives you an unforgettable driving experience. Alright, now let me tell you a juicy bit about the 1970 Chevelle that I bet you didn't know. Did you know that Chevrolet had this sneaky little program called COPO, or Central Office Production Order? It was originally meant for fleet cars like taxis. Clever dealers and buyers found a way to use it to build absolute monsters. While COPO's usually tied to the Camaro, a few Chevelles were lucky enough to get the treatment too. With COPO, you could order high-performance parts that weren't typically available on showroom models. Things like monster engines, beefed-up suspensions, and even racing-specific setups. These cars were like sleeper hits. They looked somewhat normal, but they were built to dominate on the drag strip. They're super rare today, making them the holy grail for collectors. Now, let's move on to how the Chevelle dealt with the racetrack. In the early 70s, the Chevelle, especially the SS 454, was an absolute beast on the drag racing scene, making its mark in NHRA events and on local drag strips. The Chevelle hit 0 to 60 miles per hour in around 5.4 seconds, pretty impressive for its time. It didn't necessarily win the most famous national races, but it became a legend in the drag racing community, known for its raw power and reliability. Whether racing officially or in street racing circles, the Chevelle SS 454 was always a top contender, helping fuel the muscle car craze of the 70s and earning its place in racing history. After that, Chevelle really made its mark in street racing culture, which was a huge part of the muscle car scene back then. Sure, it wasn't officially showing up in big-name races, but on the streets of cities and small towns across America, the Chevelle SS 454 was a true contender. It was constantly going head-to-head with other muscle cars, racing through the night in these unsanctioned high-stakes showdowns. Even though these races were off the books, they were a big deal in the car community. They helped build the Chevelle's legendary status. The 1970 Chevelle cemented its legendary status in NASCAR thanks to Cale Yarborough's incredible run in the mid-1970s, especially during his time with Junior Johnson's team. Yarborough's historic achievement of 3 consecutive Winston Cup championships, culminating in 1976 while piloting a Chevelle, speaks volumes about the car's capabilities. With 9 victories out of 30 races that season, along with a staggering 22 top 5 and 23 top 10 finishes, Yarborough and his Chevelle dominated the competition at iconic tracks like the Capital City 400, Dover Downs, and Martinsville, proving the Chevelle's versatility and raw power on both oval and road courses, and securing its place as a true icon of stock car racing. The 1970 Chevrolet Chevelle SS 454 also went head-to-head with the 1970 Buick GS 455 Stage 1, igniting a legendary muscle car rivalry. Despite the Chevelle's monstrous 450 horsepower LS6, the Buick consistently roared past the finish line first, clocking times like a blistering 12.73 seconds at 109.03 miles per hour against the Chevelle's still impressive 12.88 seconds at 108.19 miles per hour in one nail-biting race, proving that even with raw horsepower, factors like weight and gearing could make all the difference in a quarter-mile showdown, forever etching both these titans into muscle car folklore. All of this was part of what made the Chevelle so iconic, its undeniable performance and that muscle car swagger. Though the 1970 Chevelle might not have been tearing up NASCAR tracks, it was a major player in the muscle car wars of the late 60s and early 70s, a time when automakers were battling to build the fastest, most powerful cars on the market. This was all about bragging rights, and the Chevelle was right in the middle of it, going head-to-head with heavyweights like the Dodge Charger, Ford Mustang, and Plymouth Roadrunner. These competitions weren't just about official races. They played out on the streets and at smaller racing events where muscle cars faced off to prove their dominance. The Chevelle's raw power and jaw-dropping performance in these settings helped cement its legendary status. Sure, it might not have claimed big victories at events like the Indy 500, but that didn't matter. The Chevelle absolutely owned the drag racing world and became a cornerstone of muscle car culture. There you have it, gearheads, the world's fastest Chevelle tearing up the track like it owns the place. That raw power and incredible speed are what make this car such an icon in racing history. If you thought this was wild, wait until you check out our last video, Corvette Killer 2002 WS6 Trans Am. It's a must-watch for any true muscle car fan. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss more epic moments like this. Let us know in the comments what your favorite Chevelle moment is, and as always, keep those engines roaring. See you in the next one.